Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. For this video, we're gonna take a look at a couple of posts from the subreddit Surviving Infidelity. So if you wanna go ahead and skip to the stories, just use the timestamps below the video. And now I would like to thank all of you that support me as either YouTube members, Twitch subscribers, or donating during the live streams. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you. Also, if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos and you like it, consider subscribing to the channel and joining us on Discord. Now let's get to the stories. This post is from the subreddit Surviving Infidelity, and it's from user Silent Lucidity 9963. My story. After reading your stories, it brought back all the heartache and anger that I went through at the end of my marriage. So I thought to write my story to give a glimmer of hope to you and to show you that everything turns out good at the end. I am 55 years old. My ex-wife is 50 years old. Married for 23 years, together for 25. So, a little background. I am from Alberta, Canada, farm boy, born and raised at my parents' dairy farm. I moved to Ontario to go to university and got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. After graduating, I went back to Alberta and started working in the oil patch in automation of big oil processing facilities and oil and gas drilling. Made good money, bought a house in the city. A co-worker introduced me to my ex-wife. She is an accountant working at a big retail company in the finance department. We clicked immediately and started dating. Lived together for 2 years and married. During our time in Alberta, we had 2 kids, boys, 19 months apart from each other. Around year 5 of our marriage, she got a promotion that required to move to the headquarters office in Ontario. So I resigned to my job and we moved to Ontario. Rented and kept my house and bought a new house with my ex-wife there. Found a new job in automation and manufacturing facilities. She quickly rose through the ranks in the company she works for, and now is a high-level manager in this company. We both make very good money and have a very good lifestyle. Frequent family vacations, new cars very often, and paid our house loan very fast. So basically, no debt. We had a very social life. We knew a lot of people there, from our university days and from her childhood. In 2016 is where everything went to crap. I got laid off my job, got diagnosed with diabetes type 1, and got home early one day after running some errands to find out that my wife was having an affair with my best friend, college roommate. I caught them in the act. He was in our friend's circle. He is tall and handsome, divorced for cheating, you know, the player type. She begged and said the usual stuff that they all say, that she loves me, that it was a mistake, that we can solve this and our marriage is the most important thing to her, blah blah blah. I didn't want to reconcile, couldn't think of myself being a prison guard, following her everywhere and looking for ghosts around my relationship. I do know my value, so I kicked her out of the house and started divorce proceedings. Called the kids that were at university at the time and told them what their mother did. This put a lot of strain in their relationship, which she claimed that was unnecessary and petty from my part. Called my so-called friends to tell them what happened, and most of them knew. One even told me that this affair has been going on for 3 years. I was oblivious, maybe because I was naive and trusted completely my then wife. After knowing this, I went no contact with my ex. Every communication came through my lawyer. I cut them all out of my life. Never spoke to them again. I got depressed, had rage issues, did not sleep, did not eat during that time. Was the worst pain I ever been in my life. Never want to go through that again. I sometimes still have nightmares about it. One day I realized that I could not keep being sorry for myself and started looking how to keep my mind occupied. Started jogging and exercising, started cooking as a hobby, started to learn how to play the guitar. Anything to keep my mind of remembering all the crap that I've been put through. Playing guitar was one of the things that helped me a lot. is very hard to master, takes a lot of practice, and took a bunch of hours of the day that I would otherwise spend wallowing. One of the first songs I learned is The Sound Of by Jan Arden. It is a song about recovery and I truly recommend it. Another thing that helped me was buying a puppy dog, a Rottweiler, the breed that we used to have at the farm. My ex hates animals, so we didn't have one. Taking care of the puppy also allowed me to take things off my mind, and having it being dependent of me gave me a reason to keep going. During the divorce, we sold the house and split the equity, split the money in the savings accounts. RSPs, retirement, didn't need to be divided since we both had the same amount saved. And after the divorce, I moved back to Alberta since I had a house here and started my consultant business. And I'm doing very well, even in this recession. Sold my house and bought one in Canmore at the foot of the Rockies and have the woods as my backyard. I'm not very good at social media, never cared for it. I do not even have a Facebook profile, so not following my wife was very easy, nor did I want to know what she was doing. In 2018, I went back to Ontario for my son's graduation and I met my ex there. She asked, since I was there visiting, if we could grab a cup of coffee someday and catch up. I just told her that in hell I would be in better company and then went to ignore her for the rest of the ceremony. Both of my sons moved here to Alberta and they lived like 40 minutes away from me. This had to be a shock to my ex since Ontario is 4 hours away by plane and like 36 hours away by car, and that makes it very difficult for her to come and visit the kids. Not everything is as great as it sounds. I haven't been able to be in a relationship again. I have trust issues and decided that it isn't fair to my partner, so I stopped dating altogether. I am alone, but I don't feel lonely. I am very happy with my life, even if I don't have anybody to share it with. For all of you in this sub, my heart goes to you and what you are going through, but I can testify that it gets better. And even if you end up being alone like me, is way better than living with the cheater and the ghost of their infidelity. And that is OP's story and the beginning of this video, because just a few months after this original post where OP shares this incredible story of how he just stood up for himself without even doubting it a little bit, not even thinking about going for reconciliation and just moving forward with divorce and living his best life, well, she contacted him out of the blue because she had some important message to tell him. So if you're curious as to what that was, then stick with me and let's move on to OP's next post. This post is from user Silent Lucidity 9963. Contact the Demon Lord? Hello good people, I am writing to you this time to get some advice. Last Sunday I was helping my youngest son to transport a sofa he bought in IKEA to his home. I own a truck. During this, he mentioned that his mom, ex-wife, wanted to speak to me. My sons know that they aren't allowed to give her my number, and thus the relay of the message. I haven't spoken to her since my youngest graduation from college, and wasn't in my plans to ever speak to her again. Being fair, this raised my curiosity. Why now after all this time? Does she want to truly apologize? Or maybe she just wants to clear her conscience? So I have spent all this time since then mulling over the idea of calling her. Also playing outside all these nights. For some reason, can't get this song out of my head. So to summarize good people, what do you think I should do? And I relay the question to you guys. What do you think OP should do? I mean, he hasn't been in contact with her for a few years, if I'm not mistaken 3, because his son's graduation was in 2018. And now all of a sudden she wants to talk to him. What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? What kind of advice would you give him? Well, how about we check the community advice and then we go take a look at OP's final update to see what ended up happening with this whole conversation thing. The Grubs says, email is sufficient for anything she needs to say. She gave up any right to verbal contact with you 5 years ago when she was caught sleeping with your best friend. Best thing about that is you can filter her out if it becomes a problem. As a follow-up, the reason I said no to verbal is verbal gives the other person ability to read what you are feeling, and allows them more manipulative power over you. It also lessens the time you have to consider your responses. Neither of these work to the betrayed spouse's favor, and the wayward spouse tries to reconnect. Tercer78 says, whatever you expect her to say, anticipate being thoroughly disappointed. You got through 2018 at your son's graduation saying no. Why change your mind now? I guess time is somewhat healing things. 100% whatever she has to say is only for her benefit. Nonetheless, seems like you've resigned yourself to speaking with her. Why not do it via email so you can immediately delete if you dislike the direction? Other than morbid curiosity, what do you gain from a conversation with her? What can she say that will bring value to your life? Elizabeth B says, I'm a betrayed spouse who was a wayward spouse in my previous marriage. So in a way, I feel I can speak to both sides of this. First marriage, I cheated, and eventually we split up. I lived to regret it. My affair partner eventually dumped me. It was not fun. This happened many years ago. We moved on. My first husband and I ended up divorcing, but keeping the kids in mind, so we amicably shared custody until they were grown. Much credit goes to him. He is a good person and a great dad. I was pretty terrible, having an affair and all of it, but learned and grew. Because my first spouse and I had kids together, we continued to see each other occasionally for graduations and weddings, always cordial but distant. We both eventually remarried. He and his second wife, whom I knew from before they got together, have moved to a different area now, and I haven't seen him for years. Our kids, now grown, keep in close touch with both of us. He's very happy in his marriage. In the meantime, I've had the heartbreaking experience of becoming a betrayed spouse. Now I really understand how horrible it must have been for him when I did it to him. I feel terrible about it. I wish I could tell him. Two things have made me wish to reach out to him. One, I learned from the kids that his wife has cancer, and I'm very sad about that. Two, as I say, since having now become a betrayed spouse, I understand far more the kind of pain I put him through. In my opinion, that's probably the only reason to have any contact, to apologize. But I won't try to contact him. If I did, even if it were for the purpose of apologizing for what I did in the past, I figure probably would be more of something for me than for him. It probably wouldn't make him feel better. If I did ever try to contact him though, it would be through something like email or a letter. Trying to get him to call or have personal contact would be just wrong, in my opinion. If your ex needs to contact you, it seems to me they ought to be able to use email or snail mail. And there you have it. The commenters say email is the best way to go. And we also got a pretty interesting side story from this last commenter where she was the betrayer and then betrayed, which is kind of like the story goes with cheaters sometimes, right? Anyways, like I said, we have the final update to this whole story. So how about we move on with that to see what OP ended up happening and what that message was all about. Thank you all you guys for your advice. Your comments helped me to unstuck my head and pull it out of my ass. I did follow your recommendations and asked my youngest for my ex's email account, created a new Yahoo email account for this purpose, and wrote her to find out what she wanted. She wrote me back an email, and after all the normal pleasantries, she wrote to tell me that my ex-bestie died from a heart attack last month. So last night, I wrote back the following to her. Dear Satan's spawn, I really do not have words that can describe this, except Mazel Tov, maybe. Right now I am unable to grieve for him because my heart is already grieving for the death of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, a person that I never met or had any influence in my life whatsoever. Please do not try to contact me ever again. Sincerely, betrayed spouse of 3 years. After that, I set her email address as spam in my primary email just in case. Maybe I was too harsh? Too much of an a-hole? I did not desire any harm to them, but definitely still resent them. Anyway, thanks to everyone that helped me through this. You guys rock. And that was it. That's what his cheating wife wanted to tell him. That his ex-best friend, the one she cheated with, died of a heart attack. Now, why would she think that's important to tell OP? I mean, wishing that somebody that wronged you would die? It's understandable, although super harsh, and hopefully it's not the default mode for anybody, but in some cases it is. But if somebody that wronged you like this died of natural causes, what, does that make them a better person? No. What did the cheating ex think was gonna happen? That OP was gonna start crying and saying, oh, my friend is gone? If that's what she thought, then she's delusional. And on that topic, what do you guys think about people that romanticize death? Like, do not speak ill of the dead or that kind of stuff. I mean, in my opinion, if somebody sucked while they were alive, they don't automatically turn into good people and only did good things and were nice and all once they're dead. No, death doesn't get to do that. Anyways, that's all we know about OP's story. Pretty cool response. So now let's move on to a short positive post from the same sub. And it's from user Healing Time Now, learning to smile again. I left my ex-husband 1 year ago after 6 months of trying to reconcile. Before D-Day, I never took selfies, but I wanted something to document my journey. I have been through trauma before, so I knew the pain would eventually fade, but I wanted real, tangible proof of what I had gone through. I started taking selfies obsessively. Not pretty happy ones, but pictures of my sorrow, bloodshot eyes, dark circles from not sleeping, tears running down my cheeks, all of that. I wanted to remember. But the opposite happened. I was going through the selfies the other day and I saw a beautiful journey and transformation take place. That as time went on from D-Day, especially once I left, that my skin cleared up, the dark circles disappeared as I was finally sleeping again, and eventually, amazingly, that I could smile again. Not a half smile barely showing on my lips and not at all reaching my eyes, but my teeth showing and laugh lines by my eyes. Hello? My nose crinkled, my eyes shining with joy. When D-Day happened, I thought I would never be able to smile or laugh again. Like my ex had stolen all my joy. But life goes on, time helps, as does therapy and abundant self-care. I just want to give you hope. It took me about 8 or 9 months before I truly smiled again. That is also around the time the heavy crying stopped. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have bad days and still need a good cry. But overall, I'm in a much happier and healthier place. I am back to my usual bubbly self, and I can genuinely smile now. I know it might seem like all joy is gone from the world when you're cheated on, but I promise you that you will be able to smile again one day. Just trust in yourself and in the healing process. You will get there too. Don't give up. Now, I know that post wasn't a story, but I wanted to share it with you guys because of the positive message it brings. That even though sometimes things might look grim and dark and horrible, there is always a way to get out of it and move on. It's a journey like the one OP is going through. So good for you, OP, for letting yourself have the chance to smile again and for doing what you needed to do to get where you are. Keep going, stay strong, and all the best to you, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.